So we're going to take a look at the metadata of the green server and of the orange server. Pay attention, the green, otherwise you are saving the wrong server. Let me collapse all of this first, and then later on we'll take a look at what's in there. This kind of gives you the overview a little bit easier. So, entity descriptor, single Y, do remember that. And then there's the entity ID, as I said in the slide. And here is the value of the entity ID, and Microsoft uses a URL now. In ADFS 1, they tended to use a URI, but then in the form of a URN, and here they use a URL. Good, and it's SAML2 metadata, and here's the signature. That one is interesting to see too. This one is a 256 signature. Sometimes you have to change back to SHA-1. Okay, the signature points to the entity descriptor. This thingy means pointer to this ID. And then we have 4 role descriptors, the standard SAML role descriptor and the WS Federation role descriptor. Let's take a look at the application service type first. Protocol enumeration, it talks WS Trust this one, and it talks WS Trust that one, and it talks WS Federation passive, and this you can use as a friendly name. Good. Key descriptor, that's the certificate that can be used if you send encrypted claims. This one, here are some endpoints, but I'm going to look at the passive endpoint, which should be somewhere there below. Yes, here is the passive endpoint, and here is the URL of our passive endpoint. So this passive endpoint implements WS Federation passive, and if somebody wants to redirect to get a token to do a sign in or a sign out, this is where you have to send it. Good, let's go one page up, close this one. This was a relying party description. Now we get the STS or issuer description in WS Federation. Support enumeration, protocol support enumeration. A signing certificate. This is actually the certificate. If you ever need to look at the certificate of someone, copy it and save it as a .cer file. This is the signing certificate. And well, let's take a look at the passive endpoint here too, because that's the one we are using most at the moment. Let me see, where's the passive endpoint? There's some ADFS ls. Must be somewhere in there. Oh well, doesn't really matter. Okay, oh, there it is. Let's collapse this. This was the 2 WS Federation roles as relying party and as identity provider, and we have service provider and identity provider for SAML, protocol SAML2, protocol SAML2. This too has an encryption key and a signing key, and here they have endpoints. Of which we use, of course, the redirect and the post. And for the IDP, there is a similar thing. A signing certificate and a redirect endpoints for sign on and sign out. Here are the sign outs. This is how you can find your URLs. Now for ADFS they're all the same, but for partners they're often different. Sometimes, often is not correct. Sometimes they're different, sometimes they're the same. It doesn't really matter. Because your application, your ADFS server is supposed to read the metadata and do whatever it has to do. You should not have to bother about this. Good. Now we are going to save this. Save as. And this is an exercise that I've done regularly. As you can see, yes, I want to replace that. And then, well, we can leave it here, we can close it, doesn't really matter. We'll go to Visual Studio. And we go to recent files. Let's look if it's in there. Yes. Usually I open a whole project, and if I open something separately, it's probably this one. And now we're going to do a couple of dangerous tricks. We're going to edit signed XML, and of course that will break things. We'll go to advanced and we'll say format document. Now everything is broken because I added white space, and white space is sometimes significant and sometimes not. And in this case it was, so I have broken the signature. To solve that, I'm going to delete it. But let's do the proper delete all at once. I will take away the signature because I have killed that signature by doing the format. Then I'm going to take out the two WS Federation roles, delete, and I'm going to leave the SAML roles in there, do a save, and we can exit. So we have prepared in the ADFS ls directory a SAML only XML file which only contains the role descriptors of the SAML endpoints. We're going to do the same at the Orange server. Let's get the local metadata. Here we are. PSPAR, that's the correct one. Do take a look. Here is the different entity ID. Save as in the ADFS ls directory. Replace yes. Okay. And here we're going to edit the same metadata. Recent files. SAML only. Again, format to make it visible. Collapse, collapse, collapse. We have to take out the signature. And there we are. Now, taking out the signature is of course not something you would normally do, but this is only a proof of concept environment. Normally you would make metadata and then use a utility to put a signature on there. There are tons of utilities to do that for you. But here I don't care too much because it's just a demo to show you the SAML protocol later on.